Welcome to the Mental Dietitian podcast. You already saw him just then, but I got the man, the myth, the legend back, Mr. Kit Dale. My very first podcast I ever did was with this guy, and the podcast blew my mind because he talked about the science of learning, and that was over a year. It was almost a year and a half ago. Since then, our friendship has consisted of sending each other Lord of the Rings memes. We haven't met in person yet, but it's coming. I'm going to head down there soon, or you'll come up here. But Kit Dale is the fastest of that I know, and he personally knows, person in the world to get their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He got it in about 4 years. He's currently writing script after script. He's going to be a big director one day in the movie industry. It's already done. It's already happening. And welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. First off, I love that the cat was in the background. It's awesome. Little black cat. Yeah, it's my new journey now. Is see you later. My latest journey is the filmmaking journey, which is very fun, and it's been really cool to see the ideologies I was using in jiu-jitsu transcend across into filmmaking and give me the same kind of projection in progress, which is great.
Yeah, man. Like you've done some acting. I know you've done some acting, and I know that you enjoyed that, but you more enjoyed writing and making scripts. What made you shift that direction versus pursuing more acting?
Well, I kind of look at it as like it's kind of like saying comparing soccer to snowboarding, right? And I like both of them. The problem is you have to have the right environment to do snowboarding, and it's a lot of work to get that opportunity to actually go snowboard. So I would probably lean more towards soccer because all you need is a ball and some ground. Now, what I mean by that is I love acting. But the opportunity that you even get to be allowed to act in something that's even worthwhile acting is almost never. So it's definitely a love of mine, but I mean, you just don't get much opportunity unless you're very, very lucky and in the right place. Once you get lucky in the right place and you get known and you're worth money in film, then suddenly it's easy. You know, you're acting in everything and it's great. And you probably get sick of acting. But for me, I went into acting first and I was doing really well. And this was about 2014. I had my black belt for a year and I got a little bit bored of jiu-jitsu. And I was like, I want something, a new goal or passion of mine. And I always loved acting and writing stuff since I was not so much writing, but like doing little comedy skits since I was a kid. And I thought, you know what? And I just had knee reconstruction. So I was like, maybe I'll go into, I didn't have a knee reconstruction. Sorry. I had a knee injury. I snapped my ACL. I thought maybe I'll get into acting. I've always wanted to do that. And I've just never thought of it as a possibility. Why not? So I got into acting and I got very, very lucky. I got a speaking role in a show called Jack Irish starring Guy Pearce. Met him, awesome dude. I got a lead role in a $23 million feature film, which was so much fun. It didn't do very well, but it didn't really project my career anyway. But it was still I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the funnest times of my life. Then I got my knee reconstructed with the money I made from the film. I wanted to move to America because the films they do in Australia are very small, and they're not particularly the type of films that I like or I would be in. So I moved to America, took 2 years to get a work visa. As soon as I got a work visa, then I had to become part of the union. I finally got that. And then now I'm allowed to act. And then COVID hit. I'm like, fuck. So I can't do anything. And during COVID, there was a bit of a shift in the political climate, and it moved away from straight white male actors, and to more a lot more ethnicities and different subcultures and groups. So I went from having maybe 6 auditions a month to having maybe 2 a year. So I was like, look, I love acting, but if I'm ever going to take this seriously and actually get an opportunity, I have to start making my own stuff, because nobody's given me the chance and no one's, give me any opportunities. So I'm going to have to make my own. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a crack at writing. And this was 2 years ago, and I'll see, I just knew that I know that I put the work in. I know that I can progress quick. I understand that. I understand smart and intelligent work compared to just, walking in circles and thinking you're moving somewhere. So I decided to start writing, and I spent probably 10 to 14 hours a day, every day since then, writing. If I go to any place outside of, friends invite us over, I take my iPad and I'm writing there. I'm like constantly doing work. So I started doing that. And since then I've written 5 scripts all the way through. A bunch of scripts I've just thrown out that I wasn't passionate about after I started. And I feel like I'm at the place that most writers take over 10 years to get, and it's been 2 years. And I'm really happy with it. I've got 2 scripts. One I'm just about to finish today, and one I've already finished. And it was kind of hard because the moment I finished my first script and I was ready to try and get it made, we had a writer's strike. So for 6 months, we've been in a writer's strike. And we've got an actor's strike right now, which is probably going to finish. So I feel like I've been the most unlucky person for so long in everything I've decided to choose. And this moment has just been the perfect moment for everything. And I mean, for acting, for writing, for filmmaking, for jiu-jitsu. 10 years ago, even more, 12 years ago, when I started teaching jiu-jitsu and I was teaching people a different way of jiu-jitsu, the way I learned and the reason why I progressed so quick, but people weren't ready for it. So it was like bad timing. But now, right now, and I released my task-based games to rapidly improve your jiu-jitsu 3 weeks ago, nearly 3 weeks ago. And it's been an unbelievable hit. And we're getting so much good feedback, over 500 copies we've sold. And the timing's right for that. So it's kind of like, I feel like I've been building all these different things for so many years, over 10 years, where everything almost went against me. And now finally it's like at the right time where I feel like I'm about to get these movies made. My movie making career is about to blow up. My acting career, the jiu-jitsu coaching career. So everything has just been, a culmination of 10, 15 years to right now where it's finally the perfect time for everything, which is really nice for me. Because it's been many years of struggle to get here. Like the start of this year, I had to sell my truck, just to have enough money to survive. And I was trying to just keep afloat until these movies made, but then we get in a fucking writer strike and I can't even get any movie made. And it's like, but now, in the last 3 weeks, I can go buy 2 trucks. So I'm a lot happier now. So everything is working out really good. But I basically decided to take control into my own hands and just make the movies that I love and that I want to see and act in the movies that I love. And I'm not delirious and I'm not egotistical in the sense that I'm not trying to make movies where I'm going to star in them and just, some people do that. They write their own, I'm going to star in this. I want the best actors I can get in my movies. And if that means it's me, then it's me. But if it's not, it's somebody else. I have no problem in stepping aside to let someone that could do a better job do a better job. For me, the actual movie itself is the most important. So, there's always a role I can play in these movies, but we'll see who the best for that role is. And hopefully whoever the best is, we get.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Yeah, like I don't know if you have. You've been working for 10 to 15 years at something and you're finally seeing. Have you stopped and just thought and just taken a step back and just been like, oh wow, like, and felt how fucking good that feels? Because it must feel good, man.
Not as much as I should, honestly. I'm kind of my goals are set so damn high that, for example, like a lot of people say, you wrote your first script, you should be happy with that. But for me, it's like, I'm not happy until I make my first movie. So there is a part of me that's like, it's more like financially, there's a burden that's been removed that makes me feel a little bit more relaxed. But in terms of like celebrating any kind of goal, I haven't even given myself a second. As soon as I finish the script, I'm on to a next one. As soon as I finish this script, there's no celebrating finishing the script. It's now I need to attach a cast to this script. And I'm going to start having meeting with named actors, directors, and try and start attaching people to it and then start getting funding. So there is a little bit that I'm like, it's more than I'm just, okay, financially, I'm a little bit relieved right now. So I don't need to stress so much about that. But in terms of my goals they tower over this. Like I'm not here to make movies. I think anyone can make movies. I'm here to make the best movies that anyone's seen in the last 10 years. I'm probably going to fall short from that, but that's where I'm going. So I'm not going to be stopping or anything for that. But the thing is, and this is the kind of the fun part, I get so much joy out of the process of it that for me, it's not like I'm not doing this because I have to do that or I'm not going to be happy. I love what I'm doing. I love writing. I never thought I would enjoy writing. I couldn't even write for shit. And I tell you, I had no idea where a comma goes. I put a fucking exclamation mark at every single period. Like, if you read the first script, and the grammar was unbelievably bad, like I had to go through so much. The amount I've written, if I put every page that I've written down, it's higher than this roof right now.
Holy
In the
shit.
last 2 years, because I've just written so much. So I had to like make every single mistake I could, because I started in the worst possible position. I understood movies and I knew stories. I just had no idea how to put them on a paper. So it's been a massive journey from where I was to where I am right now and where I'm going to be. But I absolutely love it. Like, I never thought I would really enjoy it. I love sending my script out and having people give me feedback. And, there's nothing better when someone says, oh, I love this or this and that, but that's, so my point being, I enjoy the process so much that it doesn't even matter if I didn't make it, so I don't feel like I need to stop and just let it sink in. But I know that the moment I'm kind of waiting for, the first moment, is when my first screening of my movie, whether it's at a film festival or something like that. And I'm talking about a big movie, not a short film. The first screening is what I'm looking forward to. And I've kind of visioned that a few times and I envision it like just ridiculously. Like I have this vision where I'm walking out and they're playing Thunderstruck. And the crowd's like, and I'm like walking out like that just after they've all watched the movie and I'm the director and everyone's celebrating me. It's not going to happen like that, but that's the way I picture it. You know what I mean? Like massive, like I'm Jesus walking through. But I look forward to that the most. Once I get to that moment, that's going to be a surreal moment for me. But in all my life, I've never really, any kind of moment like that I've enjoyed for a split second. I've just moved on. That's the reason why I always do things where I enjoy the process. Because if you are like most people and they think, I'm just going to get this and I'll be happy. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to be happy. As you know, every time you hit one of those goals, you just set the goal further higher. And I've accepted that. I'm going to do that to the day I die. And the most important thing for me is I enjoy the process of what I'm doing. And I feel like I'm serving a purpose. And if I do that, I think I'm going to have a long, fun, healthy life.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing things that I don't enjoy because I want to make a certain amount of money or something like that, I don't think I'm going to have an enjoyable life. And I always try and, I got a lot of friends that are super talented friends, but they focus on, I want to make money and I want to make money and I'm thinking about doing this to make money. I always try and say, listen, don't think about making money. Just think about, what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? What do you really enjoy? And give that everything. And then you do that for long enough and you're going to be able to make a lot more money doing something that you actually really enjoy.
So scary for so many people though, isn't it? It's scary. And what would you say to those people that are really scared? Because that's true. Like, you're a living example of it. You made a career in jiu-jitsu before that existed.
Yeah. Before it was financially,
before it was possible.
Yeah. I think I always try and tell people this. You're probably not going to believe in yourself at first. And it might be a long time before you do. And if you're waiting to believe in yourself or you're waiting for motivation, you're going to be a victim to circumstance. I will just tell myself, I tell myself one thing. One thing is like, I don't know shit. Okay. So even if I think in my head, I know I can't do it, I could be wrong. But what I do is I give myself the benefit of the doubt that it's going to happen. If I work hard enough, which most people don't work that hard. Most people think they work hard, but they don't. Most writers go to a writing class for six months or a year, and they're doing it like every Tuesday night for 4 hours, and they think they're doing work. I say, no, you got to do it every single day for as much time as you can. That's real work. So I think if you put the work in, you can achieve anything. And I've seen this over the years. I've seen talented people come into jiu-jitsu like, kid, I want to be a world champion. It means absolutely nothing. But if I see a guy that keeps coming in and coming in and coming in, and I know that he's going to put the work in even when he's not motivated, they're the guys that I'm like, this guy could be something. This guy could really, really turn into something. So I think the most important thing is convince yourself at first, just do it. And then you will start crushing these goals. And then once you've done it, then like, once I was good at, jiu-jitsu, I was like, you know what? I could be good at anything.
Yeah.
I know. And you're going to have moments where you doubt yourself. You feel like things aren't going for you. You don't want to do it. Those things happen, but that's where you need to be disciplined. Sometimes I'm like writing and I've got a lot of good stuff going on. And I'm really passionate about the story, and I'm going through it, and I just can't get away from it. I can't even sit there and have dinner without me thinking about it. And there's other times where I'm writing, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't feel like it's interesting or fun. I feel like I'm wasting my time, and I could easily just not write at all. But I force myself to write. And through writing, I usually will come up with something that inspires me or I'm proud of. Like the other day, I was waiting for notes on this script, and I've got another big idea for another movie, but I just don't know where to start. And every idea I had, I was like, I think that's just crap. But I thought, I'm just going to write it anyway. And I don't judge my first draft. I'm just going to write, look here, the first draft of anything is shit. Ernest Hemingway.
That's cool.
And I think you have to have that, that non-perfectionist attitude of just like, I'm going to suck at first. So I don't judge myself, and I just started writing, and I got to page 10 of just trash. And one thing I wrote, I'm like, oh, fuck, I like this. This is good. And I'm like, even if I rub all of that out, all of that was worth this one thing that I just figured, just come up with. And then suddenly I'm like, see, it's worth it. And then suddenly I'm inspired again, and I'm motivated, and I can get back in and I'm enjoying it. But without that discipline, I would just stop doing it. And I feel like that's what most people do is they're good when they believe in themselves. They're good when they're motivated, but when they're not, they just drop off. And that's where you have to have discipline to just keep pushing yourself. Understand that you're not always going to see progression. Most of the time you won't see progression, but you've got to trust that if you do the right things and you do it the right way, it's going to be there. And the right way, and what I mean by the right way is, I think there's two ways to learn anything. You can be told or you can discover. And discovering is far more powerful. I could tell you don't touch a hot fire, but if you touch a fire, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. And that's an experience. If I tell you exactly what to do in jiu-jitsu, compare that to you going out and you figuring things out yourself, you can't even compare that. So what I try and do with with writing, same thing I do with jiu-jitsu, is I will only study something if I have nothing to write. I'll only listen to someone's teachings if I have nothing to write, meaning I always have something to write. So all I'm doing is writing. I'm never going to go to a writing class. I'm never going to do anything like that because I find it utterly boring, and I find the worst way to learn anything being told what to do. Discovery is key. So I'll write and I'll write and I'll write, and I'll go back and I'll look at all the shit that I've written, and I'll go, okay, this is terrible. How can I fix this? What can I do? I'll send it to people. They'll give me notes. Say, this is bad. You need to fix this. And you just keep doing that over and over again. And what you're doing is you're learning through trial and error. You're learning through problem solving. You're trying something, you're figuring out whether it works or not, and you fix it. And then by the time you do that 100, 1,000 times, you end up getting to a place that's very much right. And you know exactly why it's right. And you've gone through everything. You've made every little mistake to do that. So that's what I kind of do. And that was what I did in jiu-jitsu. And that's why it served me so well, because I wasn't going to class to learn what to do. I hated that. I felt it so boring. And I thought jiu-jitsu should be for me a platform for me to discover what to do. A problem-solving game, a real game of chess. Yeah. A real game of chess is thinking about what's going on and addressing the problems as they happen, not having, your blueprint of moves. And, jiu-jitsu is far more complicated than chess, far more complicated. So that's the way I kind of approach jiu-jitsu, and it served me very well. And that's the way I'm approaching filmmaking. And I think, so far it's working just as good.
Yeah. And we're going to isn't that crazy? Not if, when you blow up in the film industry, dude, like you've got it's already proven by science, but you've got like a blueprint for success in anything in life. And it's very simple, which is what I heard, if she sums it up, is clarity comes from action, not thought, is a saying that I heard recently, which I love. It's like, you got clarity after those 10 pages. Even if it was one paragraph or one sentence, you're like, oh, there it is. It's clear right there. Boom. But it's like, it's fucking right there. But the shit was trash before that. Yeah, it's like what you're saying is make as many possible mistakes as you possibly can, as quickly as you possibly can. And the clarity will come from that.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Like most people write a script, right? And they come up, what they do is they do a, what is it called? fuck man, it's gone out of my head, but basically they'll come up with like a little blueprint of what they're going to do. And it'll basically like say, okay, scene 1 is this, scene 2 is this, scene 3, and they try and structure the whole movie before they even start writing it. I find that really difficult, and I find it really boring, and I feel like it just makes everything very mechanical and unorganic. The way I write a story is I start from the beginning, or I write a scene and I just go from there. Sometimes I'll go backwards, sometimes most time I'll go forward. So let's say I just write, okay, interior, house, day, John, bald-headed, 6'3", walks into his room, finds his cat humping his dog, grabs the cat, throws it out. I just go from there. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. I just keep going and going and going. Usually the only thing I'll start with is a concept or an idea, right? So my latest script that I'm working on, and I'm not like, a lot of people are really quiet with this kind of stuff. I don't give a fuck. My latest movie is set in 2054. Okay, this is one I haven't really started. I just did 9 pages. And we've run out of all fossil fuels and all power. And over a period of 2 years, we've just run out of power completely. So then I got to think, okay, well, imagine what are humans going to be like in 30-something years? Think about it now. Most kids don't even know how to use a pair of scissors. Because what do they do all day? This, the swiping. They never do anything, and they never make anything anymore. Most things are already, handmade. So imagine we lose all the power, all the technology. In 30 years, all your kids' dexterity in the hands, their ability to even survive is almost gone, because everything was given to you. Uber Eats will bring your food. Something will cook your food. Everything done. So I play with these ideas, and then I think, okay, where would society digress to in that kind of situation? Who would dominate society? And then I just start writing, and I don't know where I'm going to go. And I just sort of let every word inspire a new word, and every sentence inspire a new sentence. And what happens is you unlock ideas in your subconscious that you weren't even aware you had. And they're not always yours. Usually it's a culmination of things you've seen or done or experienced or heard. But either way, without that writing, I would never have that idea. I would sit there all day trying to figure out the whole story in my head, and I would never even get anywhere. And I would do the same thing when I used to paint pictures or draw pictures. I would sit there with this big canvas, and I'd be like, it would take me 3 days before I even decide what I wanted to do. There's 3 complete days of wasted that I could have been practicing drawing. If I was to give you a bit of paper, right, and I said, I want you to draw the best picture in the world, or I gave you a paper and I did a couple lines and I said, I want you to make something of this picture, it'd be so much easier for the one that I made a couple lines on. You would see things that would inspire ideas. You would say, oh, there's a line there that looks like a mast of a ship. Okay, I'm going to draw a ship. You know what I mean? Compared to sitting there, what is the best picture I could draw? And most people come into jiu-jitsu the same way. They think, okay, you're a black belt. You're one of the best. Teach me exactly what you did, the way you do it, because I want to do everything perfect straight away. I want to learn from you. Tell me exactly. It's like, it doesn't work like that. You've got to do what I did. You have to go out there and make every single mistake I did, or you're just going to be a terrible carbon copy of what I am.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, and I've started approaching jiu-jitsu that way recently when I'm having really good success. And I've just approached it of like, okay, the guard is the legs. Okay. Like just looking at like if I off balance somebody, they sweep them or I take them down if they're standing or kneeling or wherever. Like concepts. So what I like about your task-based games, and especially like the hand fighting one of like, hey, here's some concepts. It's some people would define it as a technique, but it's not really a technique. It's more of a principle. It's like that saying. I love this saying. It's like methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, but principles never do. And that's
cool.
It's fucking good because methods constantly change. Because 20 years ago, if you did heel hooks, you're a piece of shit and you don't have any skill. Now, that's like the in thing. In then it was berimbolos for a bit, and then it was buggy chokes like a year ago. They're methods, but the principles obviously don't change. So Matt Kwan is my black belt instructor at a place called On Guard, and probably about 3 to 6 months ago, he's changed his style of teaching to play games. We play games every time we train. And I will do things like techniques that I've never done before because of the game. I've never done this particular, like I'll set up an arm bar in a different way, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there. And now I go to some other schools that just teach techniques, and I want to blow my fucking brains out. Sucks.
Dude, I had a girl come to my class. So I ran my second class. I'm running a class of subconscious in LA on Monday nights at 8 o'clock, a no-gi class, and 6 o'clock at Henzo Gracie's. I had about 50 plus students there last night. And this girl comes up to me. She's like, "This is my first jiu-jitsu session I've done." I'm like, "Oh, let's go. This is gonna be fun." Right. And she didn't tell me she had done a class in the morning. Right. I said, "Listen, this class that you're going to jump into right now is going to be very different to a normal class you're going to see. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you games, and I don't care that you don't know how to do it. All I want you to do is try. That's your goal. It's just to try, accomplish the tasks I give you. They'll be very specific." And she came up to me after the class. She's like, "Kid, oh my God, I learned so much more in this class than the first class I did. I couldn't remember the techniques and I couldn't grasp them. But here I felt like I was doing things and moving and I could figure things out." And I'm like, "That's exactly what I want you to do. That's great." So it's really good feedback. I wish I recorded it because it would have been the best testimonial I've ever had. But the key is like, it's for anyone. Most people get confused and they think that they think that jiu-jitsu is based on jiu-jitsu progression is based on the accumulation of techniques. And two, they think that the foundation of jiu-jitsu is based in techniques. Like there's some fundamental techniques that you need to learn. There's not. It's like saying there's some fundamental sentences you don't need to learn. You don't. You need to understand the words and why you use them, what they're for, and you need to use them in a rhythm to get across whatever point you're trying to get across. And really good speech and really good writing is actually bending the words in a way that is not, it's not structured to do. It's breaking little rules in language that make it so nice and work so well. And jiu-jitsu is the same. And so many people put all these stiff rules in jiu-jitsu and these fundamental techniques you have. It's just a waste of time. And I understand why people do it. It is hard to grasp the truth in jiu-jitsu, in what really works. It really is. At face value, you'd think that techniques and drilling is by far the best way to learn. But when you take a really good look at it, you will see really quickly that it is so inefficient that you're going to hate the fact that you ever wasted time doing it. There's a lot of coaches now that are moving across, but there's still a lot that are holding on to that because they just they've never put the thought into it. Most people haven't put thought into what they're eating and drinking in their life. Why they make certain decisions. They're not going to put it into jiu-jitsu. So you've got coaches out there that they're there because, one, they like coaching, two, they like getting paid, but they don't want to be the best they could be. They don't want to understand, themselves as well as what others do. They don't want to give their students the best possible teaching. They just want to do whatever they can with as little effort as they can, but they're not very aware. And it's sad because there's so many people that could be so much better than what they are and learning in a way that's so much better. And there's, Greg Sowers, is someone to Sowers, right?
Sowers, Standard Jiu-Jitsu.
And he's doing a great job over there. Me and him are quite different. He's a very he came to me maybe 10 years ago and asked me about what I was doing because he knew I was doing the same thing back then and he was interested in it. And then he went really hard down the scientific realm of things.
Yeah.
Where for me, I'm never going to do that. I find that really boring. I'm more, like I said, I do the things and discover and then figure it out. I'm telling everything from my own experience, from what I see and do. I'm like the scientist, where Greg went to all the books. And so he figured out everything through that way, which is great. So when you talk to me and him, we're telling you the same thing, but in a very different way. He will give you the very strong scientific literature of it, which is great, but not everyone can understand it. But he understands that, and he doesn't care. Yeah. We had a conversation about that. I said, I want everyone to understand what I'm saying. And in a joking way, he was like, you can have the mouth breathers and I'll have the academics. But either way, we're doing the same thing. And it's great. And he's been fantastic for that, because I know a lot of people have gotten into this training because of him. And that's important. The most important thing is exposing people to this type of training and this type of learning, because there's so many people just getting taken advantage of and not getting to learn the way they should and will never reach the heights that they should.
Yeah, I said this to the very first time we spoke on a podcast, is I've learned thousands of techniques, and they're direct ways to get to a particular submission. Usually, it's like a direct path. It's like standing on an oval, like a big giant field, and they've mapped out this very specific path through that field. It's like, well, I can kind of go anywhere in this field. It's like, yeah, but we're going to learn this particular path.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've found new people find that very difficult because obviously that teacher has to cater to everybody in the class. So you got brown belts in the class, and then you got a white belt on their first day. And the brown belt doesn't want to fucking do a simple in guard, bring the arm over, go up for the arm bar. They don't want to do that, but yet that's what ends up happening because you have to cater everybody. What I like about these games, especially with what Matt, my instructor, has been teaching, is that somebody's brand new, they'll still have fun, they'll still learn, while the brown or black belt is still doing the same game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like you've already got that woman yesterday was like, this was fun. Yeah, like there's so many reasons why I think that people don't look at that. As number one is maybe they don't know. Like instructors don't know, and they that's how they learned, and they're pretty good at jiu-jitsu, and they put in their 10, 15 years to get their black belt. And why should we shorten it? It's also probably a threat to their ego. Like I've met blue belts that I train with. I'm a blue belt, and I met blue belts that destroy black belts.
Mm-hmm.
Like destroy them because they learn differently. And you have experience with that. You were probably beating black belts when you were a blue or purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then that threatens them, because imagine you got an entire school, or maybe you're like a Gracie Baja where you got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of schools, and they got an entire educational system around something that's been working for them for basically 100 years. And then you got Kit, and then you got Greg being like, you're a fucking idiot, which is basically what I've heard podcasts with Greg and Matt, and Greg is very just, you're a fucking moron. I don't train gi because it's dumb. Gi is stupid. I only train no gi, and he gives all the scientific reasons behind it. But yeah, like what do you think we can do to spread the message in a way of like, hey, like there's a better way of teaching this, or do you think it's just going to be results?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think word of mouth is the biggest thing right now. I can sit here all day and tell you why you should buy my product, but obviously I get monetary incentive from it. But when someone else that buys my product that's getting no monetary incentive tells someone, it's so much stronger. So just experience people telling other people like, hey, I tried Kit's product, I went to Greg's class, and this way of learning is far better. That's what's going to do it. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen over time. There's going to be like some roadblocks of people, like you said, other world champions that are like, I drill all the time, that's why I got good. The problem is it's not why they got good. They got good regardless of that, and they would have been better if they just eliminated it. But they trained for 16 years with other world champions, and they did everything else right. When you're training in a room full of world champions for 15 years since you were a little kid, you can afford to do two or three things really wrong and still be one of the best in the world. But imagine how good they would be if they did everything right. The only reason I can survive with these world-class black belts and be at the same level as most of them is because I trained the right way. If they all trained like me, I wouldn't be able to fucking hold my own at all. I wouldn't even be close. I train probably 1/10 of what they train, and I can hang with them. Imagine if they trained the same way I did. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I wouldn't be here right now talking about it, I can guarantee you that. I would just be some bum in jiu-jitsu that's not any good. But that's the reason. And I like your analogy. Let me elaborate on that a little bit, the way I see it. We were talking about the people on the field. When you get someone that signs up and you're teaching them techniques and getting them to drill, what I think essentially you're doing is you're putting them on one side of the field and you're putting a blindfold over them, and then you're getting them to drill certain paths. If you walk 4 steps forward, 3 steps left, 4 steps forward, eventually you're going to get there. They practice it over and over again, and they start getting there. And you give them different paths, and they'll eventually get there. When you get someone to work from a problem-solving perspective using games, you're taking that blindfold off and you're saying, welcome to the field. Figure out how to get there yourself. And there's going to be roadblocks, and there's going to be rocks, and there's going to be cars flying around, but eventually you're going to start figuring it out and realizing that you can get across that way any way you want. You just have to understand that there's a car that comes across here in 3 minutes. There's a rock over there. There's a snake under that, that dirt over there. But you'll start just finding, and then you start realizing that, once you know how to do something, it's like, how can I do it without them knowing? How can I hide that? How can I trick people? How can I start using, psychological warfare? And that's what makes a big difference at the top end. So the good thing about the games is, let's say my task-based games, is jiu-jitsu can be unbelievably overwhelming when you first get into it. And I said to you, this is your first day, you're going to roll, with Ahren, okay? Go. And he'd be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? It's like, I don't know, just go. Try and submit him. Like, I don't even know what a submission is. But if I take away all of those variables and I leave maybe one problem in there for them to attempt, then what happens is they're not so overwhelmed. They have a direct goal, a direct task. They have something trying to stop them, but they'll start finding a way because you're making it much easier for them. You're compartmentalizing parts of jiu-jitsu that make the problem at their level. Now, if I got someone that come in from wrestling, a Division I All-American wrestler, I can afford to have a few more variables because they already have a grappling experience and a fundamental base. They're gonna learn things far quicker. Okay, so you can have 15 different variables compared to one of a brand new person. But some people come in brand new, but they're very good thinkers and good problem solvers, and they have general body awareness. So you can add more. But it's trying to find games that are at the level that they need to. I want the problem this difficult, and I want their ability just above it. So they can solve it, but it takes a bit of work. If you make the problem too hard, they're going to have brain fatigue and just be like, oh, I can't do it, and just lose confidence. It's almost the same as weights. What do? You do enough weight so that you get microscopic tears in your muscles, and it forces your body to get stronger to deal with it. You do too much weights, you get an injury. You do too little, you're unaffected. If I create the problem too hard, then what I'm going to have is just some person that just, it's too overwhelming, I can't do it, I don't enjoy this, I didn't learn anything. If I make it too little, they're unaffected. It's too easy. It's like drilling, but I got to make it to a point where it's getting them to think, but they're actually solving that problem. And then I just need to tailor those games for that person. If you do that, what happens is you're starting to give someone experience and fun in a game where they're starting to find ways how to solve their own problems, and they're finding their own paths. And then you do that enough, and it's like that becomes instinctual. It becomes like language. See, when people say to me, what's your favorite technique? I'm like, what? It's like, for me, if I said to you, what's your favorite sentence? You'd be like, I don't know.
Got a bunch. Like a lot of them.
You got catchphrases maybe, but like a full sentence, I don't know. It depends what I say.
It's a strange question that's your point. It's like, it's a strange question to ask me, but it's not a strange question to ask other people in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, because they're pre-rehearsing all their sentences. They come in like a robot. Yes, I like you. Yes, I love you. They're pickup lines, where someone that's really good can just talk. When I'm talking to you, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm also looking at what you're doing, and I'm also reading the environment. Where are we? Are we in a bar? Do I have to speak a little louder? Do I have to turn my ear when you're hearing? I'm taking in everything, and I'm answering the best possible answer I can, dictated by what am I trying to achieve here? Am I trying to hit on you? Am I trying to get you to go away from me? Am I trying to teach you something? It's all going to dictate what I say. And the same thing in jiu-jitsu. I'm not just thinking about what I'm trying to do. I'm also thinking, what does he think I'm trying to do? I'm also wondering, what is he trying to do? I'm also wondering, what is he wearing? Is he wearing a loose rash guard that's slippery? Is he super soapy skinned with no hair? Is he slippery? Are we on slippery mats? Are we on dry mats? Is it really hot in here? Is there coaches watching? What is the rule set? There's so many things I'm taking in to come up with these, very calculated decisions. But because I learned like that, those decisions come within an instant, and it's simple for me. When people show me techniques, complicated techniques, I would be sitting there, I could look and go, yeah, no, I can do that. I remember speaking to, the late Leandro Lowe and Galval a few years ago, and we were sharing techniques, okay? And I showed them a technique, and they started drilling it, and they showed me a technique, and I said, oh, awesome. And they're like, drill it, Kit. And I'm like, no, I got it. No, drill it. And I'm like, no, I got it. I can see exactly what it is. It's simple for me because I learned like that. So when people ask me, when's the right time to introduce a technique to someone, okay, I will tell them, when all I need to do is show them, and they can do it straight away, then they're ready for that technique. But if I show them and they're like, I think I need to drill this, then you're not ready. You need to develop a better understanding and better experience in that area, so that when I show you that technique, you can see, you go, fuck, I should have been doing that. I know exactly what you're doing, and I can do that. So I always I don't mind introducing techniques into people's games and helping them with that. That's fine, as long as they're at the level where they have a good enough understanding that technique just sinks and they can do it live and practice it live. If they have to drill it, then they're not ready for it. So getting people at day one and teaching them techniques is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. They should be developing a feeling and a skill set and a problem solving method to trying to do that, so they get some experience, so that when I show them these little techniques, they're like, oh yeah, shit, that's why that'll work. Okay, and they do it. Does that make sense? And they can do it straight away. So it's not that I'm
Yeah.
against techniques. I'm against the introduction of techniques at the wrong time, and then people thinking, well, I need to hack my brain and create procedural memory by drilling these techniques over and over and over again. It's like, you're not ready for it. The
Yeah.
time you're ready for is when you don't need to practice it.
It reminds me of this morning I did jiu-jitsu, and the black belt there, he does teach techniques in some ways. There's a lot of beginners there. But the thing he does at the end, which I like, is he'll do rolling, but you're not allowed to submit somebody. So you have to get good position before you get submissions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you learn that way, when you do learn the technique, which is probably, it's usually a submission. It's usually some kind of arm drag this, then grab the gi in this way, but not this way. Fuck, it's confusing, man. There's like 12 steps just to do a cross collar choke and a gi, and you're like, oh man, it's so.
I'll be getting changed.
Yeah, you'd be like, all right, see you later.
Change rooms.
Yeah, it's weird, but I like what you're saying, and I've had it firsthand experience, and it all depends. Like, you eventually have to teach braking mechanics to somebody, right? Like, and I like what you said, that, because it's like, I do teach techniques, but I'll only teach you the techniques if you can see it and do it straight away. And what's interesting, I heard that I had a situation like that the other day, and I saw this technique. I've never done it before, but I'm like, oh, I know how to do that, because I already spend time in this weird half guard position, kind of coyote guard, because I've discovered it. It's fun. It's got a bunch of weird ass names, but I was like, I know that. So when you said that, I have recent evidence to show that what you're saying is 100% true within myself.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
I think everyone can relate to it at a point, but not many people, abide by that rule. Craig showed something the other day when I was training with him. I think it's called octopus guard or squid guard or some shit. And I didn't need to practice it. He did it on me because he was trying to demonstrate to these kids. And I did it last night. I was in the same position. I thought, oh yeah, that thing here, I tried, boom, works. There you go. Easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have so much experience in that area. So it's so easy. It's just far more difficult when you don't have that experience and you're coming into jiu-jitsu with this mindset of, teach me the techniques and I'm going to apply them. It's like, you're going to have a really long journey, kid. It's going to be like a 12.5-year journey before you get your black belt, and you're not going to be a great one. You're going to probably use a lot of strength and athleticism to make up for your predictability and be on steroids and stuff like that when you don't need to be like that. Especially, I'm 38, nearly 38 years old. I got into jiu-jitsu late. I got into jiu-jitsu late. Fucking hell. And I'm going to have a very long career because of the way I train. Everything is to be as soft as I can and be as efficient as I can. I don't like using energy. I hate competing with people that are like just on the juice and they're just going to go really hard and they're crap. And it's like, well, they're crap, but my God, they're going to go so hard for 9 minutes. They're going to be forced to have to use energy to try and defend this fucking prick. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that. It's not fun for me. I'd much rather go with someone that's better than me, like a Gordon Ryan, that feels like he's not using any energy, but he's like technically unbelievable. And it's just so few people that are like that. But I always enjoyed that. Keenan Cornelius was fun like that. I used to love competing against him because he was the same way. Didn't feel like he was strong or anything, but he was just so good at what he was doing when he was motivated and he was competing in that.
Yeah. It's so interesting. He won't be a good black belt, and you probably use athleticism and strength. Yeah, like people that don't have good technique will make up for it in strength. That's why there's that stigma that the big guy will just Americana you or Kimura you because that's all he's really got. Because a lot of bigger dudes don't learn skill because it's almost like they have evidence to prove that they don't need to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're juiced the fuck out. Like you look at ADCC, right? And you look at the guy that won the absolute, and he's going to face Gordon Ryan next year. The most boring matches I've ever seen in my life. I'd rather watch paint dry. It was so boring. And that he's just a strong guy, and that's what he does. And apparently he won that way.
Who was it?
It was Yuri Samoas.
I know Yuri. I trained with Yuri for a long time.
I don't know the guy personally, but maybe it was his technique or his plan that day. It was just boring as fuck. Like it's just boring. It was
Look, I've known Yuri for a long time. He was a good friend of mine. Still is. I don't get to see him very much.
yeah.
His style is it's hard to explain. He's a strong dude. He's a very athletic guy. He kind of plays a very slow game. And I think what he's trying to do really is like beat these guys by like an advantage or a decision or something like that, force it into that. He definitely didn't have the most exciting games. I think he could. Like, I think he's very, capable of it. But I understand what you're saying. But Yuri, if you are watching, remember who's to beat your ass on PlayStation, mate. Don't ever forget that.
Poor guy.
He's
Yuri, I said your matches are boring, but you would absolutely fucking.
He's the one that gave me a black belt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Really? That's crazy. I didn't know that.
He come and trained with me. I was a brown belt, and he come trained in Australia. And I pretty much just got kicked out of Peter de Beans, really. I don't know if I got kicked out or if I left, one or the other. And I started training with him for about 6 months, and then he left back to America, and I took over the school for a bit, and then I went to America, and he gave me his black belt, my black belt.
Crazy. I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Small world,
Cool, man. That is a small world. Yeah, like I see like everything you're doing, even the hand fighting one, that task-based game with the hand fighting with those two guys. I just love that. Like I've done it with black belts recently. In fact, I did it a couple of days ago where they grabbed me and I just remembered, I was like, oh, up this way, down that way. And I've never learned that. That's technically a technique, but it's you're giving me a technique in a real live situation that helps me. And I don't see it as a technique, it's more of a tool. It's like, hey, like try not to let your guy get around this way because this may happen. And then that's going back, that's a principle. It's not a method. And what you were saying is like every jiu-jitsu gym, most of them, 99% of them teach methods. And I don't know, that they always change all the time. So
and people get used to it. Like no method or technique is ever going to continuously work. Everything can be counted. And when you become predictable, it's so easy. I can just tell people from their styles who they've been copying and who they've been watching. It's funny. I'll go roll with someone and I'll be like, okay, I can see you've gotten Craig's DVD because he feels like a really cheap Walmart version of Craig. But he didn't do everything Craig did to get to where he is. So he's not going to be Craig. He's just going to be this terrible looking copy of Craig. Craig got to where he is through a fucking lot of experience, a lot of mistakes, a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimenting. And then look who he is, training with the best guys, and he's one of the best guys. But you can't just take the carbon copy. It's like if you do, let's say in 10 years' time, right? You create a company and you've got this huge fucking multi-million-dollar company, and people come in like, oh, tell me exactly what to do to get the same thing. It's like, fuck. I can't.
Time the economy after a recession, do like have somebody in logistics, which is your sister's best friend. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, It's impossible.
You can give them principles and ideas to follow. The methods are going to be changing every single time.
Yeah. And like that, I talk about jiu-jitsu. Not everybody that listens to this podcast does jiu-jitsu, but the reason jiu-jitsu is so interesting more than anything else is it's a direct copy of life. For example, I kept on arm barring this dude the other day, like 3 or 4 times in a row. I just arm barred him. He just kept on giving it to me. And I was like, you just kept letting me do that. You just started getting frustrated. If that guy is able to look at it as that's a miniature blueprint for his own life, that 5 minutes is a miniature blueprint for his own life of like, what is some dumb shit that I keep doing over and over and over again, and I just keep getting evidence. It's like those guys that every ex-girlfriend is crazy. Yeah, bro, they're all fucking crazy. It's like, well, maybe it's you, pal. Like maybe. But jiu-jitsu gives you that in a 5-minute roll. If somebody does the same shit over and over and over again, you can't deny the fact. You can't be a victim. You can't be like, everybody at the gym got together and they say, we're all gonna ankle lock Ahren today. That's what we're gonna do. They can't like that. That's what is so interesting about jiu-jitsu. And if you can have that lens that you look at it through, you'll be very successful in other areas of your life, like what's happening with you with the writing. It's like you're taking that same principle and it's like you've discovered this thing and everybody's like, hey, what is it? It's like, well, here it is. It's like, oh, but like that's not fancy. That's not a little gimmicky trick. That's not like a big dick pill kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's the hard thing is like, you know, so many people comment on my ads and like, oh, this is a gimmick. This isn't. I'm like, fuck, it doesn't have a clue what I'm teaching. You know, there's no fucking magic pill. It's like, this isn't a magic pill. This is the opposite. Just literally the opposite. The magic pill is me telling you, yeah, practice my techniques and you're going to be good. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you, yeah, do these games and think for your fucking self. And you do that for long enough and you're going to figure things out. Then you're going to be really good. And it's the thing you just touched base on, which is really important, is what learning really is. Learning is a survival mechanism. You know, humans, whether evolved or created, are designed to do two primary things: survive and procreate. And what is learning? Learning is your ability to evolve to be able to survive longer. Okay, whenever you're in any kind of situation, you need to learn from that to survive. And what your amygdala does, other than put you in fight or flight, it tells your brain how deep to store information, whether to learn something for a couple seconds or whether you need to remember it for the rest of your life. Anytime anyone's been attacked by anyone on the street or had something crazy, you remember that shit really well. And you remember so much about it. But when you're practicing a technique, you're like sitting there in this really calm environment practicing, and your brain's telling you, you know, you're telling your brain, I need to remember this. Your brain's telling you, we need to forget this. This is not important for our survival. But when you're in a live situation, you're nervous, excited, the coach is watching, you want to win, you don't want to lose, you don't want to get hurt. Suddenly your amygdala is like activated and it's saying, we need this to survive. We're in a dangerous situation. We need to survive. So you remember a lot more stuff. And then you accompany that with a game, which means that you get instant feedback. See, in a lot of jiu-jitsu, you know, you're working your takedown, you want to work this trip. You go for it, you miss it, you get mounted, and then suddenly 6 minutes, you're underneath mount, and you finally get submitted, and then you got to change partners. And you never get a chance to fix what it is or figure out what you did wrong. But when you play games, we go straight back to that position. Go for it again. Go for it again. Go for it again. It's not working. Why? What's happening? Break it down. Look where you are. Look at your body position. What's this going to happen? And then you start getting instant feedback. You start fixing things and fixing more things, and then start getting more and more information. Then you start improving exponentially. That's one of the best things about creating games is you get instant feedback and you get the ability to fix mistakes right there on the spot. And that's what I see a lot when I run classes, when I teach these people and they do these games, is I see how much they're learning in a short period of time just through trial and error. And it's not me telling them how to do it. It's them figuring it out. And you see the look on their face and it's fucking amazing. They're just smiling because they're just like, all right, I'm learning. This is what fucking learning feels like. And it feels good. That's what the girls say about me. Kit feels good. Small, but good. I'm joking. Both of those. It's bad and big.
The amount that you talk about your dick just makes me think that it's either really small or really big, and it's not in the middle, or it just might be completely in the middle. Because I've been following you for years, and it's at least 2 or 3 times a week. Well, so I'm like, is it a defense mechanism, or is it's actually fucking huge, and he's like playing like this reverse psychology thing?
Joke's on you, bro. I don't even have one.
Oh, fuck, man. That's right.
Look, regardless of this conversation, I would never say something that someone's going to end up finding out and being like, what the hell? I would never make dick jokes if I had a small dick. That would be the fucking dumbest thing I could imagine doing. It's like going into jiu-jitsu class and telling everyone I'm really fucking good and then just getting my ass whooped for a long time. When I go to do something, listen, I haven't done this before, so don't expect anything from me. Okay. I want no pressure.
You'd rather overcompensate or undercompensate than over deliver than the other way around.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's because, you know, I like appreciation. Appreciation I didn't get from my dad. You know, I want that.
Oh, God.
Rather someone be like, damn, you're actually not bad. Or saying like, I thought you'd be better. Like, fuck.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Yeah, my brain is just thinking right now. It's just so interesting. Everything you're saying, and like every memory that I can ever think of. And even you listening to this, you watching this, think about any great memory you have. It was always accompanied by a heightened emotion. Always. It was either joy, frustration, sadness, graduating high school, getting married, the birth of your child, starting that new job, getting fired from that job, the death of your mother, getting submitted in front of all those people with a no-gi Ezekiel or a smother tap, all those things, there was some heightened emotion tied to it. And that's why what Kit was saying is that's why the amygdala remembers it. That's why scientifically, Greg, it doesn't fucking work. There you go. That's why it doesn't work. There you go. The reason why it doesn't work is because what did you have for lunch 3 Wednesdays ago? You remember what you had for lunch 3 Wednesdays ago if there was an emotion with it.
You got food poisoning.
Here's what's interesting as well. Every single one of my tattoos, all of them, like this one right here, I remember that it was in Seattle. It was in 2014. I remember I went up to a local grocery store, a little corner store, and I got a big bottle of Coke because Coke helps with, the sugar helps with the pain. I'm like, why the fuck do I remember that so clearly? I remember there was an Asian guy behind the counter. I'm like, because there's pain associated with it.
That's
so funny. Every single one of them.
I remember all of these. I remember when I got this fucking one done up here, I had sunburn and it was fucking killing me. And when it was going across my collarbone, it was like, I remember having this one. I remember exactly what I did there. I did it at South Melbourne. And the guy was a really good artist. And I remember bouncing across here. When I had this, I felt like it was a hot knife going through here. I had this down here. I was 18 when I had this one done. I remember exactly why I did it, where I picked it from, the picture over there. I remember thinking I'm an idiot because this hurts so fucking bad. I remember getting this one done. I remember shading it myself, doing this one myself, where exactly I was through all of them. Exact same thing, bro. That's fucking, I never thought about that.
It's very interesting. Do you know why? Because there's pain associated with it. Like there's some kind of heightened sense of being a human being. And if you can understand that, that's why doing anything without some kind of heightened emotion, especially in a combat sport, is a complete waste of your time.
Put yourself under pressure, you learn much more. Every time I competed, I always come back feeling I was a level above.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really know why, because I'm really just doing a couple of minutes a match, but it's just your body's just remembering everything. It's just absorbing everything and it's just upgrading. So if you did that all the time, and people that compete all the time generally get better a lot quicker.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I would be a lot better right now if I kept competing. Unfortunately, every time I decide to, I get fucking injured or some shit. I'm still recovering from an MCL right now.
I saw that. That was fucking brutal, dude. I was like, and that guy was big too.
300 pounds, bro.
Oh god. And then like the way Matt Kwan, my instructor, he bans that particular takedown in training, and he actually shared it on his page. He's like, this is why I ban this takedown in my class, because if you don't do it right, or if a variable goes wrong, that there's so much pressure on that knee, like what happened with you.
Yeah, look, it was half my fault, because half both our fault. My legs were just particularly wide at that position at that moment when he went for it, and I don't think he knew how wide it was, and he was exhausted too.
Yeah.
So he was a 2005 world champion under 99 kilogram, wrestler. Like he's legit world champion wrestler. So it's not that he doesn't know what to do. Just he's tired. I had my leg in the wrong position. He went. I don't think he even realized what happened. Afterwards, like people said, oh, he got up and he looked, I didn't care. He's like, I don't think he realized what had actually happened. I've spoken to him a few times since then. Like, he doesn't speak much English, and he's a big, friendly dude. He doesn't mean, he's just excited. He's like a big puppy dog. You know what I mean? That just runs and bowls you over. It doesn't mean to. It just is. But he's actually a nice guy. At first, when he did, I was like, I don't know if he did this to hurt me, so I'm not sure about this. I think I'm going to choke this guy out a lot when I train. But I train with him the next time. We've done jiu-jitsu a few times since then. He's been really nice. He's just that kind of
huge. Dude, anybody that big doing anything, like they're gonna accidentally hurt you. I went against a 250-pound wrestler the other day, and he did a snap down on me. He did a snap down on me, and I was just like, what the fuck? I literally, my head went like this into the mat, and my legs were like up here. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like he collar tied me, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's different. Their efficiency with that kind of stuff and the amount of leverage they get is incredible. One of my best friends is a 2-time All-American wrestler. He took down Jordan Burroughs in high school. We're actually going to do a wrestling takedown games product soon. He's phenomenal, and he's way lighter than me. But when he hangs on my neck, man, I feel like I've got some fucking ball and chain hanging off me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Wrestlers are a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. It was actually. You mentioned it just then, because I do have to wrap the show up. What's next for you? You kind of mentioned that. Obviously, you got 5 or 6 scripts written. You're making more. You've got connections. I follow you on Instagram. For you that don't follow Kit, go follow Kit. He's funny. He works really hard. He gives you a lot of free value with jiu-jitsu. He talks about it a lot in his stories. All the concept he's talking about. What I've noticed in the past few years since I started following it, it feels like you've almost got your passion back for jiu-jitsu that was maybe lost there for a little while, especially lately with this product. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what it is, right? A lot of what I was doing it for jiu-jitsu back then was because I was competing in jiu-jitsu, and I got a lot of appreciation and respect, admiration. And I really liked that. But then the moment you stop competing, that goes away so quick. And people just look at you like you're yesterday's news. You can be one of the best black belts in the world, but the moment you stop, you just go, warm. I would go to tournaments where I know people would come up and shake my hand and say, I want a photo with you. But because you don't compete anymore and you're not in that light, they don't look at you saying like, oh, cool. I know this guy's more famous now. I hang out with him. So that hit me a lot. So I kind of just felt like, you know what? Fuck that shit. That's, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu.
Your ego's like, fuck
Yeah.
this, man.
Literally, and then you're trying to break into a new industry, sorry. And everyone in that industry is like, who the fuck is this fucking jock meathead think he's going to be a writer and filmmaker and actor? Get the fuck out of here. So you're getting like, suddenly I'm getting shit on by both sides. So I feel like resentful. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to compete. I don't want to have much to do with jiu-jitsu. And, I was still training and everything, still getting better. And it's confusing for people because I have world champion guys coming in and some of them I beat. And they're just like, why are you not competing? It's like, I just don't want to. Don't feel like I get anything from it. But since I started teaching a lot more, and especially now with like the games getting like really appreciated, it motivates me more to do more. I'm like, you know what, I'll do more because I feel like I'm getting that appreciation for it, which I felt like I wasn't when I quit the competition side of things. And I will probably compete again.
Let's go. Let's do it.
But I want to have my first movie greenlit first.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because in my head, I'm like, that's reward. And I haven't said to many people, but the moment I get my first movie greenlit, I'll go compete. And half the reason is I don't give a fuck what happens. I don't give a shit. I don't care if I go out there and get choked in the first 20 seconds, which it's not going to happen, but I think I'll do well. I think I could win everything. But it'll just be pressure that I don't need, I'll be like, because now I'm making fucking movies, bro. I'm not going to be known for jiu-jitsu by the end of my life. Jiu-jitsu, people be like, oh shit, he did jiu-jitsu as well. But what I'm going to be made for is having some of the best movies that have ever been made. That's my fucking goal. So then I don't really care what happens in jiu-jitsu. I have no pressure. I'll go in, have fun, and I'll compete a lot more because I don't care. A lot of time I don't compete right now is because people take it too seriously and they look at it as like the be all that ends all. And they think because if you lose, you don't win a competition, you're not the fucking best. You lose by a referee's decision and you suck. And it's like, why? I'm not fit. I'm training like 2 times a week, and then I'm going to try and compete against someone on steroids doing 7 times a fucking day. Like, of course, it's going to be hard. So I don't need that, that feeling of like people just like, oh, you're not any good because you haven't won the world championship at black belt or something like that. But once I start making movies, I don't give a shit about all that. I'll go in and then I'll end up doing really well.
Imagine if you beat those people, because I know that you probably will, and that will just be like. It would just be shattering. It would be shattering for them, and your product would blow up even more. What's your next product that's coming out? You mentioned the wrestle game.
There's two. So there is going to be a wrestling games for developing wrestling, takedowns for jiu-jitsu specifically, but I'm using my friend who's one of the best wrestlers ever, a phenomenal guy, really good coach as well. He helps me a lot. And then I have one that I'm really excited for, which is more for instructors. So basically a blueprint for instructors to teach classes. They'll know exactly what to warm up with, how long to do it for, what the first game is, why it connects into the second game and the second game. So all their classes can be set up and they don't need to worry about it. I'll have it tell exactly what to do. We do this training for 10 minutes and then you're going to bring them in and you're going to explain these 3 concepts. Then you're going to get them out there again for another 5 minutes, play with it. And then we're going to move forward into the training to this part. You're going to get them to play around a little bit, create a demand for some information that you're going to give them conceptually and ideas and concepts. And then they're going to practice again and then finish with some, more variable rolling and stuff. So Then I'll have a product for coaches that no matter where you are, you know that you can train this way, you know exactly what to teach, and you know they're going to develop.
Dude, that's amazing. Like
That's the one I'm excited for, bro.
That could change the whole world of jiu-jitsu, because they now have a blueprint, almost a structure, a framework that they can follow, but then they can still apply themselves, whoever they are, Bob, Jill, John, whoever they are, they'll apply their personality to that framework.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And it's
fucking cool.
themselves. It's the students developing themselves. It's not something that I'm teaching them. I'm just giving them games to discover things themselves and concepts that are universal. So I'm not there telling him, oh, when they get this point, do this technique. No. This concept is very, very universal. If someone's trying to attack your legs when you're passing, most likely they're going to have to invert or cut an angle. So I just try and keep them straight with some kind of control under the armpits or something like that. So when you know these kind of things, and then suddenly it makes things so much easier for you. Realize, oh, I was getting my legs grabbed in this game because I wasn't stopping him from inverting. He can't reach me from here, but he turns this way. Suddenly his arm can reach my foot and he gets better leverage, and just little things like that. But it'll help them self-develop, and through a way that's organic, and through a way that they're teaching themselves. They're just using my games and my concepts as guiders.
Yeah, as principles, going back to its principles, and then they can attach their own methodology to that based on where what school they learn and whatever they're learning. That's very interesting. What a game changer. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm excited about. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about my own movies getting made.
Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? And where's the best place to follow you, in your opinion?
I mean, Instagram for sure. That's where I mostly post things. I don't really use TikTok or Snapchat or Facebook much anymore. So Instagram, Kit Dale Official. And if they want any of my products, I have the links all on there as well. But otherwise, it's Kit Dale Training. And the latest one that all the buzz is about is the task-based games to rapidly improve your jiu-jitsu.
Go buy it. I haven't bought it yet. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't bought it yet. I'm probably gonna buy it after this conversation. Fucking, you have me on your show and you didn't fucking buy it. Yeah.
It's been really good actually. A lot of high level, like world-class coaches have sent me messages buying it, which is the biggest compliment to me.
That is, yeah.
It's super, super nice, which I won't throw their names under the bus because I don't think it's right, but I let them tell it when they want to tell it. But that's been one of the biggest compliments to what I'm doing, is other people that I really respect in the field going out there and getting it as well.
Yeah, like you can't get more feedback that what you're saying has value and that it's appreciated. So I love chatting to you, man. I want to do this again. You were the very first person I ever did a podcast with. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, I got Kit Dale, and I like, this guy's a big deal in the jiu-jitsu world. And I was just a white belt at the time, I think. Yeah, I was a white belt. And yeah, dude, it's cool developing a friendship online with you. I look forward to seeing you in person. You're only a 3-hour flight from me, so I don't even have a fucking excuse. You're literally 3 hours away. You're in LA.
I've got a few people asking for seminars in Canada too, and we've been meeting with snowboarding there as well. So it's probably going to happen within the next year, either way.
I was also going to ask you. I would highly recommend you connecting with Matt. I've mentioned him a few times. He's got a podcast called the Essential Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. I don't know if you have time to chat with him, but I think you'd have a very, very, very interesting conversation. So I'd love to connect you guys, because we would have you. I know we'd have you at On Guard. He's mentioned about it before. We kind of couldn't make it work last time. And I think you were heading to Europe you were heading to Europe at the time. You were doing a bunch of stuff, but yeah, man, I'll connect you guys. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you up here, coming down there, all the stuff you're releasing, the movies you're going to do. It's cool, man. Even the past year and a half, we've just expanded so much. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And likewise, brother. I love seeing your podcast blowing up.
Thanks, man. We'll see you guys next week. This is a big podcast. Go follow this guy. Go listen to what he says. Go listen back to what we just said in case you missed it, because you're going to get more nuggets from it the second time you listen to it. We'll see you next week. Take care.